Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the very first Tompkins Community Bank Power Breakfast of the year. Let's talk about it: marketing, public relations, and social media strategies that make an impact. You know, we kind of have a tradition at the Business Council of Westchester to kick off our Tompkins Community Bank Power Breakfast each year with something relating to marketing, because this is a time when we are really thinking about the rest of the year, how we're going to get the word out, how we're going to enhance our brand. And let me tell you, we have an incredible panel of experts who are here to share their thoughts and their expertise and their professional wisdom with you. It's my pleasure, before we get started, to introduce Matthew Farrell, the Vice President of Commercial Banking for Tompkins Community Bank. Matt?
Thank you, Marsha. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first Power Breakfast of 2023. All of us at Tompkins Community Bank are excited to be partnering with the BCW again this year to bring the Power Breakfast program to you. As I'm sure you've all seen in the news lately, there's been some turmoil in the banking sector, with some of our local banks in our community even being affected. I'd like to take a brief moment to reassure the audience here this morning that Tompkins Community Bank remains in an excellent position in both the industry and the community, and look forward to continuing to serve our clients. To us, it's business as usual with our lending, cash management, investment, and retail banking products, and we'd be happy to talk or answer any questions you may have for us. Today's panel discussion around public relations, marketing, and social media strategies is an important one, and I'm looking forward to hearing what our panelists have to say. So with that, let me welcome you all back for another year and hand it back over to Marsha.
Thank you, Matt. And I just want to reiterate that last week we shared with our members a webinar from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which talked about what happened with several banks, and the chief economist at the U.S. Chamber really spoke about the health and the strength of community banks. And I know that Tompkins Community Bank was there for all of our members and all their clients during the tough times of the pandemic. And we've said over and over again how your relationship with your community bank, and today Tompkins Community Bank, one of the best we have, is the most important relationship for businesses. So to Tompkins, to Matt, to Dave D'Amelia, who's on the BCW board, thank you so much for all you do for the community. Again, let's talk about it. It may appear to be a simple concept, but marketing, public relations, social media, all have an impact on a business's relevance, brand engagement, lead generation, and more. The approach and style taken will vary depending on business objectives, the type of industry, and frankly, your budget. So today, leading our panel of experts who will share techniques and strategies that go into high impact initiatives is Filomena Fanelli, the CEO and founder of Impact PR and Communications. Filomena's company is a PR agency. She is a PR agency CEO and media maven. It's a fancy way to, along with her teams, helps companies get in the news, transforms leaders into thought leaders, and cuts through the clutter with messaging that matters. Her agency, Impact PR, represents businesses that build, invest in, and market the places people live, work, and enjoy. Many of them right here in the Hudson Valley. The banks and finance professionals that help them thrive, including today's Power Breakfast sponsor, Tompkins Community Bank, and the destinations people head to for food, for fun, and for adventure. So it's my pleasure and honor to turn this panel over to Filomena. And Filomena, you can take it from here.
Thanks so much, Marsha, and thanks to all of my panelists here today, the ones I'm about to introduce you to. You're going to be in for a treat. We have people with all sorts of backgrounds on our panel this morning. I'm going to start with Eve Ashworth, President and CEO of Ashworth Creative. Eve is an entrepreneur, strategic leader, and problem solver who specializes in advertising, event solutions technology, branding, content, and marketing strategy. For more than 20 years, she's honed her leadership skills as co-owner of Ashworth Creative. Her company was recently hired to redevelop the Business Council of Westchester's website, and her team provide experience, talent, and expertise along with exceptional quality throughout everything they do. Welcome to the panel, Eve. Next up, I have Jean P. Charles, principal of WSI Vital Marketing. Jean has been operating WSI Vital Marketing since 2018 and offers services such as SEO and website builds centered on branding, lead generation, customer communication, and market research. Prior to launching his own agency, Jean was co-founder of drjays.com, an apparel e-tailer that he grew from scratch to a company with 250 plus employees, 2 million plus unique monthly visitors, and tens of millions of dollars of annual sales. Can we get a wow? Welcome to the panel, Jean. Next up, we have Donville Collins, President and CEO of VCast. Donville has been a video producer for 22 years now. He started at the age of 14 when he studied and became a certified TV producer on a local TV network. No slouch since. He's been in business for 17 years and has produced many engaging marketing videos for large and small companies across the country, but especially here in Westchester and the US Northeast region. Welcome, welcome, Donville. Next up, we have Mike Dardano, small business marketer with Buzz Potential. With 39 years of marketing experience for a variety of industries, Mike offers marketing and communication services that help his clients grow their businesses. He and his team have a special methodology to what they do. They create individual plans or roadmaps for each client. They then use communication channels to reach their specific target audiences, measure the results, and more importantly, make appropriate adjustments to ensure ongoing success. Always a great idea. Welcome, Mike. Next up, we have Tom Langen, Chief Legendary Owner and Founder of Talix Media. Welcome to the panel, Tom. Tom is, get this, a two-time Emmy Award nominated Director of Photography and producer. Tom has produced hundreds of hours of national and globally distributed programming for major broadcasters you may have heard of, like BBC, NBC Universal, and Discovery. And he's filmed all over the world, from the Arctic Circle to the sub-Saharan Africa. Since mostly leaving television production 4 years ago, Tom is focused on working with entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and mission-driven organizations to help them positively impact their communities, shape the future of their industry, and build meaningful, long-lasting relationships with their communities through narrative, value-driven video content. And last but not least, I'd like to welcome Jessie Spellman Mignone, photographer, social media manager, content creator, and if you've seen What's in Westchester, New York, that's at what's_in_Westchester_NY, then you know Jessie's familiar face. Jessie also happens to be an Instagram expert, and she'll tell us how you can guarantee to get more real followers, real ones, they're very important, with little to no understanding of how Instagram works. So I can't wait to hear more about that. A hearty welcome to all of you this morning. And we have a short amount of time together, so I am going to jump right in and get to the good stuff for all of you tuning in today. Donville, we're going to talk about marketing, public relations, social media strategies. All these things can benefit your business, but I'd like to ask you what the value is in applying several of them, multiple marketing strategies to helping your business promote itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And good morning again to everyone. So diving right into that question, I think it's always important that there's multiple means of how you're engaging people. And the primary reason for that, in my opinion, is because everyone is different. We're all in our different places. We engage differently. And you will find out from even the different people that are on this panel, experts in all their own rights, that there are different industries where people sometimes engage in content differently. And I'll say this to say, for example, that I'm a video producer. We produce a lot of video content, but there are some aspects of where, depending on the type of industry that you're marketing to or trying to communicate to, you not only should be doing video, but you should be having a lot of written and engaged content in that way, because some different industries, those particular individuals want to see the details that maybe shouldn't be in a video. So there are different, or not that it shouldn't be, but it should be in addition to. So there are different aspects of how people engage, and we should try to get them into different places they are and in different preferred methods that they prefer to engage with.
Donville, it's so important to meet people where they're at and to touch them in the places that they're naturally at anyway. But one question I hear all the time, and I'm going to actually ask you, Jean, to add some color to this, is like, well, how do I know what to set aside for a marketing budget? What's appropriate when I'm trying to reach all these people in all these different ways?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the question, Filomena. Setting a marketing budget is very tricky. And I think there's two basic ways that are employed by many people. One is just as a percentage of your revenue. I know that Gartner Group puts out a survey every year of chief marketing officers, and it differs by industry, but the range is like 4 to 18%. But, Gartner surveys companies that sell maybe $1 billion to $10 billion in revenue. So that might not be the reality for, some of the attendees today. So, take that with a grain of salt. Another way to do it is sort of, if you know how much a customer is worth and what kind of margin you have on them, then you want to make sure that your marketing spend is commensurate with that objective, because you need to earn a return on investment. At the end of the day, your marketing budget needs to be realistic. It has to be impactful, purposeful, consistent, and sustainable. One of the things you don't want to do is approach someone and say, hey, I would like to grow $1 million this year. And when they ask you what your budget is, you say 500. That's not going to work. Meanwhile, if you don't have the deep pocket, you're not going to be able to afford an ad on the Super Bowl. So you do just need to set your objective, track your metrics, and build something that's sustainable and consistent.
Excellent advice, Jean. And one of the other things that's so important when you're trying to get a message across, you're trying to use that budget wisely, is to get to the heart of what it is you need to talk about, what's going to set you apart from the business to the left or to the right of you. And Eve, I know you talk a lot about, what makes a company stand out from the rest and what their unique value proposition is. Can you explain what that is and why it matters?
Sure. And just to kick off, I want to thank Tompkins Bank for hosting and sponsoring this. This is amazing. And I also wanted to thank Marsha Gordon and the BCW team for putting these type of seminars on. I joined one last week about employee retention, and I learned so much. Their content is like top notch. So thank you, guys. So I'm going to go through 6 simple steps of what you can do to be able to define your target audience and come out with the best UVP, which is your value statement. It's what basically your whole company hinges on. So first off is really making sure you go narrow and deep. If you look at Filomena's company, she is very defined as to what her target audience is. She's a PR professional. It's much better to go narrow and deep than broad and wide. So really figuring out what it is that who your target audience is essential to identifying what your UVP is. How does your company solve your target audience's problems? And then 2 would be conduct a competitive analysis, researching your competitors, seeing what they're offering. How do you do things differently? For example, we did messaging for one of the biggest healthcare companies in New Jersey. They were very specific as to what they did. They had the strongest research capabilities throughout the world for their industry, and they offered really incredible patient representative services. So every step of the way, they had a patient rep with that patient every step of the way. These were 2 massive big differentiators for them, and so that was what we were able to hinge there when we were building all the personas for their different audience sets. We were able to hinge a lot of information around those 2 things. 3, what are you uniquely qualified to offer? So what is it that your team's really good at? 4, determine what sets you apart, what makes your company unique, what benefits do you offer that your competitors do not, and then craft your messaging. This is really hard to do on your own because it's really hard to see when you're so close to yourself and to your brand. So it's really important that you hire somebody outside of your company to be able to look in to see what your UVPs are. These statements should be focused on the benefits you offer to your customers and how you solve their problems, and then testing and refining. It's always good to have like a little marketing department that maybe you hire or you don't hire. These are volunteers, but I always say like a really great group of people that are in your industry or outside your industry that you can test things off of. These could be people that motivate you, that are those that you look up to, your mentors. So refining and basing your feedback on what they give you is really important. And as your company evolves, this too will evolve too. So just keep that in mind.
Excellent. Eve, I run an agency and I'm in this industry and I'm constantly evaluating and reevaluating these things. So like, know that it's not a one and done. Another very important aspect to figuring out what makes you unique and how to share your story is getting to the heart of the why. Mike, do you mind just sharing with us what the difference is between your company's what and your why? Because I think sometimes it gets confused and it can really, shift the message.
Sure. I want to thank Tompkins Bank. I want to thank the Business Council and thank all the great panelists. It's very cool to be on this panel. Well, one of the things about the why is Ron Kamen, who's on here, keeps telling me I go off the screen. So I'm holding my phone because I'm in Florida. So I'm going to just go, oh, okay, I'm back, just so people know. The why is really critical because oftentimes what happens, and I think many of you have probably seen the video by Simon Sinek that talks about the why. The thing about the why is that most people can tell you what, which is great, but that doesn't say why. So you can describe the things you do, but why do you do them? And that ties into what Eve was saying about the unique value proposition. So for example, why does someone do something? I do what I do because I want to help people. I want to help the community, I want to help my clients, I want to help my friends. So the communication tools that I use are just a means to an end, but that's what I'm about. I'm about helping people. And that's why I do what I do. So each company needs to look and see what their why is, because that ties into your brand, it ties into your messaging, and it ties into everything that people are going to talk about today. And I think people forget that. They're really good at saying, hey, this is what I do. And that's groovy and wonderful, but what's your why? And then that's harder. That's harder to answer. And that's why, as Eve said, it's good to have a third party to come in and help you with your why, because sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror and say, what's my why? It's kind of weird, like, oh, I don't know what my why is. So I think that's something that is critical and is an important component to this moving forward.
I couldn't agree more, Mike. But once you've done this work of like figuring out how much budget you can put into this, what your goal is, what your why is, what makes you unique, you have to make sure you're showing up in the right places. So you can have like the right message, the right time, the right goal, but where do you need to be? Tom, you talk about something called digital omnipresence, and I think it's a really cool term, but I'd love for you to share what that means. Like, where do people need to be these days?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thanks, Filomena, and thanks. I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to be here this morning with this amazing panel and get a chance to talk to everybody here. So thanks to everybody who made this possible. Really appreciate it. So digital omnipresence sounds like kind of a crazy term, but really it's all about it's an audience first kind of focused strategy, right? So the idea is that a lot of people, we all, as Donville was talking about earlier, we engage on different platforms and in different ways and with different styles of content because we're all individual human beings, right? And so digital omnipresence is really audience focused, and it's about showing up for your audience where they are and engaging with them on their terms, right? So it's all about the audience. It's not about you, right? And what you should do, or what you should be focused on when you're creating digital omnipresence for your business, your brand, is consistent messaging across platforms. The kind of messaging that is sort of that first layer of contact with your consumers, with your customers, with your audience, with your community. I like to describe it as like handshake content. It's the kind of content that should elicit a feeling in your audience as if you've just walked up to them, shaken their hand, said hi, and asked how they're doing. Right? It's that kind of content. It's the kind of content that leads with value and lets them know that you care about them, that they are important to you, right? So it's not information about your business, right? It's not the what that Mike was talking about, right? It's more centered around that why you get up every day, why you do what you do, what your values are as a brand, and connecting with your community on those shared value structures across platform. So that might be LinkedIn, that might be Facebook, that might be Instagram. It might be it might be digital on your website. It might be broadcast, right? There are tons of different ways people consume media and content these days. And it's really important that you show up across multiple platforms, hence omnipresent, right? But that's really kind of what that term means. It's all about the audience first. It's all about them. It's not about you.
Oh, I love that end quote there, Tom. Like, so true. It's not about us. It's not. But one place you mentioned that you think people might need to have a presence at is some place that Jessie from our panel feels everyone needs to have, which is Instagram. Jessie, why do we all need to have an Instagram?
Oh gosh, it's unfortunate, but we do. And the reason is because your competition has it. So you have to have it. It's just that simple.
And if somebody wants to grow a presence there, I know this can be quite intimidating to the person just starting up. How do you go about gaining followers? How do you get people over to this Instagram? Because you can create it, but if you build it, it doesn't mean they're going to come, right? Like, how do you get people over?
Correct. So honestly, this is the best thing about the Business Council of Westchester is that, Marsha, please correct me, but I believe that we have something to the tune of over 5,000 members, business members with over 6,000, individuals. So there are your followers. So every single time you're at one of these, socializing events, just come out and say, I'm trying to grow my Instagram. Can we please follow each other? It's that simple, and you're going to get followers. And what I would really love for everybody to do right now to grow real followers today that are supportive and care about your business is please enter your Instagram handle in our chat so that we can all follow each other. Mine, I will show you because I'm guessing that a lot of you are on. Yeah, yes, exactly. So I would like to show you I'm guessing that you have your laptop or your desktop and that you have your phone nearby. So, this is me with what's in Westchester. And I would love for you to come and take a look at my page, follow me. So we were talking, Tom was just talking about, it's about them and it's not about you. So this page, what's in Westchester, this is not my diary about how I went out and had fun at a restaurant. It is about a restaurant that I think you should go to and why you should go to it. I would never recommend anything that I think is not very good, and, for example, I have a reel that is about a brand new speakeasy and it's actually not that new. It opened up in April and it kind of just didn't get on people's radar. So I went and I did a post about it that was shared 4,000 times. And they told me that it went from being a speakeasy to more of like a pub and that they had to turn people away, so this is the power of Instagram. I did what's called a collaboration post. So it showed up on both of our pages at the same time. So my followers can easily find them. They had something like 500 followers. They've now probably got over 1,000, maybe 1,300. These are real interested followers. We don't all have to have 200,000 followers. We want to be a presence that's a nice number in our niche. So for example, if your competition is the bakery down the street and you're a bakery, and if they've got 2,000 followers, we can get you to 3. This is not impossible. This is not impossible. And I do offer lessons. And we also do have social media managers in the Business Council of Westchester. Another reason why BCW is a fantastic resource, because you can just ask, who can I get to run my Instagram page because it's too much of a headache for me. I don't have the time. And we're all right here.
Jessie, I love, this is like a genuine shout out. I actually really enjoy your page and it makes me very hungry. And then I want to go out to all of the places. So it's very effective because it has the right content. It's compelling, it's visual, it's engaging, and it is about the audience. It's like, oh, these are some cool spots I need to try out. And something you do on your Instagram, besides really great photography, and I'm a fan of photography for marketing, obviously, is great video. And Donville, you always preach the importance of having high quality video? I know self-produced has its place in social media, but why would you need to sometimes have, high quality video? And I'm going to actually ask you to answer, and then Tom, I might ping over to you for some color on this as well, since you both play in that realm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, the big thing is high quality video versus self-produced video. The biggest part about it is how people can engage with the story. So I always talk about that if you are not producing video at all, it is super important, because the large majority of us engage in video, have a higher engagement with video than other pieces of content. There are some exceptions to that, but video is one of those things where if you're not doing it, you're already losing 80% of an audience simply because they just are lazy. We're all lazy, that we rather to consume the information with less time. But the value of producing it with a higher quality is that I always like to sort of draw this statement, is that whenever there are certain technical elements that may be distracting because it's not well produced, or because there are certain sort of distractions, if you will, any sort of technical displays or quality or sort of distractions, if you will, detract from the storytelling. So that's one of the big reasons I would say I really don't care about, bringing in a nice camera and lights and all of that. But all of those things actually help to do the storytelling, to help you engage deeper. And Tom can speak to this. One of the reasons why in production we do a technical term that you may or may not know called depth of field is because it not only helps with the visual image, but it helps people to know where to focus their eyes. When you're watching a video, watching a movie, or watching a commercial, it's purposefully blurred out in certain areas because we're trying to direct you to where to watch. Sometimes when you're watching a show or a movie and you're almost telling where the story is going, or they're trying to lead you, is because there are a lot of visual cues with the professional produced way that are there to help tell the story beyond just what is being said and what is being communicated. So that's one of the big differences, is really to help with the storytelling. It helps people to really dive much deeper into the storytelling, which ultimately helps you to grasp it more into their emotion, which is a big impact of it, though.
Most of our buying decisions are highly emotional, for sure. So when you've captured this really great content, Donville, and I'm going to pass this over to Tom, what are you supposed to do with this great video content? So say you work with a professional, you get video, you tell a really great story, distraction-free, which is on point. Where do you put that content to make sure it gets seen by the right folks?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the answer to that is it depends. And so it depends on a couple of things. I want to just rewind for a quick second. I can actually give everybody here a quick visual demonstration of depth of field, right? Because of the setup that I have. So if everybody looks at my screen really closely, they can see that like my eyes are in focus, but actually my ears are slightly out of focus. And the tip of my nose is slightly out of focus. And that's because I'm using a shallow depth of field to draw focus to my face, to the features of my face, specifically my eyes, right? Because I want you, when I speak on here, I want the people who are seeing me to listen to me and to pay attention to me and not to pay attention to the background, right? That's one of the reasons why I don't, I tend not to use virtual backgrounds, because they're not very controllable. I like to use I have my office set up like a studio specifically for this reason, right? So that's just a quick example of depth of field and how you can utilize it to really draw attention and focus. When it comes to where you put the video content that you create for your brand or your business, it really depends on what your end goals are, right? So whenever I start working with an organization, I like to sort of backwards engineer everything we do, right? So the first question I ask is, what do you want to accomplish? What is the goal of this content that we're creating? And then we backwards engineer how we get to that goal, right? So think of it like a road trip. Okay, so the first thing you do when you're planning a road trip is you pick the destination, right? You don't just get in the car and start driving and see where you end up, right? You decide where you want to go, you pick that destination, then you start planning the route, and then you get in the car and start driving, right? And similar process when it comes to creating and developing content for a brand, right? You pick the destination, you figure out what you want the end result to be of that content, then you plan the route, right? You do all that pre-production work, then you pick up cameras, right? You set up lights, you start filming, you create content that is intentional, that will lead you towards that end result that you've already designed. So it depends on what that end result is, but broadly speaking, I think there's two places where businesses can do a better job of creating content. That is one, in longer form content. A lot of businesses believe that they have to keep all of their video content to like less than 90 seconds because they think that nobody has attention spans anymore. And that's actually not true. People have attention spans. They have not gone away in like less than a generation, right? Because that's not how it works. Attention spans are platform dependent, right? So longer content works great on platforms like YouTube, right? The most watched duration of content on YouTube is like 17 minutes, right? So longer form content works great on YouTube. Shorter form content works great on social media platforms like Instagram, right? Slightly longer form content can work great on your website and on other digital mediums. So it really depends on where it's going. It's platform dependent, but utilize longer form content and then take that longer form content and break it down into component parts and pieces, right? Repackage and repurpose it across platforms. So you're not reinventing the wheel all the time. You're creating one longer form piece of content, and then you're repackaging and repurposing it across different platforms to reach your audience where they are and create digital omnipresence.
Can I add to that, Filomena?
Yeah, I was actually gonna cue you up, Eve. So it's right on point. I'll let you just go on ahead.
And how this looks in real life is that you can create the same content. It could be a 5-6 minute video that you put on a landing page and a very condensed version of that. So let's say it's a 30-second video or a 60-second video that can go across different platforms on omni-channel. We're talking many different platforms. So it could be Instagram, it could be YouTube, it could be social, it could be display ads. You're thinking about all those different platforms driving short form content into a landing page that holds this long form content. And now you've got buy-in from your audience. So don't think of it as singular, like I've got to build content for all these different platforms. That's not true. You can use that same content that you build across many different platforms. And actually it builds a lot of people that are going to be interested in what you do and hear your story and the things that you are able to offer.
Can I add one more thing too?
Yeah, please do, Don Bill.
One of the big things, and I talk about it with my clients and I recommend all the time, is between the short form and the long form content is to use them both in their different ways. It's the reason why we have 2-hour movies and then you have a trailer. You can use short form content a lot of the time for the introduction, for the wet beak, for why you're. I'm sure for all of us here that do have our different social media channels and have shorts and are used to in our daytimes or in our night times in bed, scrolling our phone, looking through those stories that are passing, and you run into content that is short form, but it's based on some longer form content. Then you're spending the remainder of your time trying to find out where can I find the full version of this video, because you can engage people on the short side and they have a short attention span to wet their beak to then want to look at the long form content. So speaking to Tom's point, and his point is really about using the short form. A lot of the time we recommend is use a short form to get people interested and then guide them to where they can find the full version content. And anyone that you're targeting that wants that information, that wants to be informed in that way and engage in that way, they will find that content and be able to fully engage. And then those people, you know, they're much farther along in your pipeline because they took the time to decide to spend more time of their time to engage with your content. They're definitely higher up in the chain.
And it is for sure, Donville, about bringing people in, right? Like being found. Jean, I would love to know from you, how are people being found these days? One thing we haven't really talked about just yet is SEO. Is that still important for a business, and how so?
It is, and interestingly enough, video is very much a part of that as well. Google changes their search algorithms all the time, and definitely video is more important, voice is more important. But really, the magic of search is that it is a prospect or customer initiated, if you will, activity. It's very purposeful. Unlike a commercial, which interrupts someone, like watching a football game, you see a beer commercial, that's an interruption. When someone does a search, they're actually revealing to you what's on their mind. And if your content resonates with them, you've made the introduction and you're well along moving them into the customer's journey of finding out more about your company and engaging more with you. There are about 9 billion searches per day, which is triple the amount at the start of the pandemic. And people search more and more because they find it useful. And because there's so many searches, you can actually predict with some certainty how many clicks you're going to get based on where you show up in a search engine result page. And, you know, learning keywords. Keywords is the language that your prospects are speaking in volume. So when you start knowing keywords and you start creating your content so that it's answering your prospects' questions, it can really be impactful. I'll share one simple example. Pet care, which is a more comprehensive category, has a fraction of the searches of dog care or dog grooming, because most people don't think of their pet as the generic pet. They think of their pet as a dog or a cat, and cats don't require as much grooming as dogs. So dog grooming has way more traffic. And so if you were optimizing your site for the problems your prospects are dealing with, you would know, you're better advised using that keyword and then figuring out all the semantically related terms of the problems that people might have related to dog grooming, and then pitching your content that way. It's so important to remember that if you have an SEO optimized site, your site needs to be customer centric, which we've heard before, and not egocentric. It's really the outside looking in rather than the inside looking out.
Eve, I think you had an interesting stat to share on this, and I don't know if everyone can see it. It was like in the chat, but I would love for you to share it with anybody tuning in about video.
Yeah, and just, I love data, but to backtrack also, to go back to like your marketing budget, B2Cs on average spend 7.9% of their revenue on marketing, and B2B companies spend on average 6.9% of their revenues. And on marketers, they said that many people feel more positive about video's return on investment than at any point since 2015, as a report on unprecedented level of influence on KPIs such as traffic, leads, sales, and audience understanding. So whenever you place media, any type of content or media on any type of platform, especially if it's online, you will see the traffic. That's what's so wonderful about it. It's so great. It's not like the olden days where you throw a billboard up there and you don't know how many eyes are on it except for what the billboard company tells you. But this combined effort can help you be able to really understand. I can see from my clients how many people walk through their doors based on a 15-mile geofencing type of thing. We can deliver ads to them and they can see who's coming in. So if you are like any type of company, service-based or product-based e-commerce, you can see the results of everything that you do and see the return on investment, which is beautiful.
I actually have a question coming in real time that I think ties beautifully to what we're talking about here. And any one of you can answer it. So whoever it is like that wants to take it on, just please jump right in. But does creating and posting video on social media affect the SEO of your website? And if so, how or what should you include in your post to make sure you can be part of that?
So yeah, that's definitely, it does. And that's where keywords and hashtags matter, how you tag the video. And you should reference it on your website. You could use your own media, which is your website. And I think Tom quoted the term lease media, which is social media. You could use them to go back and forth between each other. And absolutely, one of the among the algorithms that are used to determine your organic rank is stuff like traffic, links, time spent on site. et cetera. And definitely videos and linking back and forth to social media helps with that.
But in terms of importance here, I think that if you can get that video on your website, that is going to do the most for you. So if you get that video on your website, you're going to see more traffic coming in because, but also having it on YouTube, because YouTube is a fantastic platform. Tom and I love YouTube. I'm sure every video company here loves YouTube because YouTube is, everybody sees it as a social media platform, but really it's the second biggest forum for you to be able to search for any type of content. So it's really a search engine, which is really fabulous about YouTube. And because it's owned by Google, it's included in the organic rankings. So when you search for keywords, having those keywords within your YouTube description is absolutely essential. Spending some time on that description is essential. And then, so use YouTube as your social media channel, but also as a search engine and see it as that. But also that is going to be powerful for creating a backlink into your website, making sure you post it on your website, have a backlink coming in. Backlinks are really important. It doesn't matter how many times the algorithm has changed. From our research over the past 20 years, we know that backlinks are very powerful.
You mentioned hashtag. Oh, go on ahead, Tom.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to add on to what Eve was just saying about YouTube. It is the second largest search engine in the world, right behind Google. And I would be willing to bet that everybody here on this panel and all the people in the audience this morning have gone down a YouTube rabbit hole before, right? Where they have found someone's content and they have just clicked video after video after video on that person's YouTube page and watched a whole bunch of their content back to back to back. And if you're a brand or a business, you should be creating video content and posting it on YouTube, backlinking it to your website, and creating the opportunity for people to go down a rabbit hole on your content, on your brand, and on your business, right? You should be creating that opportunity for your audience. So if you're not, don't sleep on it, right? Use the tools you have available to you. Use YouTube. It is incredibly powerful. You don't have to have a huge following, but it will help your SEO and it will create the opportunity for people to really fall in love with you, your brand, your business, and your content.
And also,
I feel seen. I feel like you've been watching me, Tom.
and keep in mind, Filomena, that there is all these new products that these platforms are pushing out all the time. So YouTube Shorts just came out recently in the last few months, and whenever they come out with a new product, as soon as you jump on board with these small shorts, they are pushing them because they want to overcome the other platforms that are pushing short form video, right? So it's really good to just jump on board and adopt new things as they come along, because it can help with your backlinks and traffic on your site as well.
Can I say one thing about this too, Filomena?
Yeah, please, Mike, jump on in.
One thing, don't forget, and this, I think David Hoffman's on the call. So he's Mr. SEO, organic and paid. Help me, oh, sorry. But anyways, don't forget to put it on your Google My Business listing. And we forget that Google looks at your Google My Business listing. So all these suggestions are awesome, but do not forget to put it on your Google My Business, because that counts with your SEO. So whether it's, now the problem with Google My Business is sometimes you don't know why it gets rejected. So it's very problematic with them. But that being said, it's definitely something you should do. So make sure you repurpose your video on your Google My Business as well.
I just want to make sure we allow Jessie a chance to chime in, because hashtags were brought up, and I feel like this is your area of expertise, and there is so much confusion about how to use them and how many, and is it too much? Is it too little? What's your take on all that?
That's actually a great question. Specific to hashtags, don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. A lot of people want to use the biggest hashtags, like hashtag NYC, that has 650 million posts to it. That is a horrible idea. And I'm going to tell you why. It's too big. You are going to attract bots and hackers. You're going to, you'll be on the page and you'll be off the page in seconds under that hashtag. So all you really want to do as far as a hashtag is you want to properly describe what you are guaranteeing in your post. So if your post is a picture of a cupcake, hashtag cupcake's going to be too large. So you might want to say hashtag NY bakery, because that's really where your clients are looking. They're not looking hashtag cupcake. They're looking for a baker in your area, right? You're client hunting. You guarantee that this is going to be, hashtag family business. You really want to keep it very concise, because the algorithm is going to scan that image and say, are you describing what we see? And so you want to make sure that you're not saying, words that you think are going to get you more followers. Again, I do actually want to this is something I wanted to get into, is that there's a lot of excitement with the idea of like, I want to post a lot and I want to go viral and all these things. And I want to manage those expectations, because with going viral attracts a lot of negative traffic. And who is your content being seen by? Somebody who's going to steal it, rip it, and put it up as their own. These are things that I don't mean to make sound scary. I want to sort of romanticize the idea of keeping it smaller and local to your follower and not losing control of what you've worked so hard on. So again, no giant hashtags. Don't worry if your reel gets 500 views as opposed to 500,000 views. It's actually a wonderful thing. I taught somebody who said to me that, reels don't work on their page. Reels are videos on Instagram. Reels don't work on my page. And the very first reel I taught them how to make got like 6 million views. And we actually had to take it down because the fake followers were just flooding in and you couldn't keep a handle on it. Now, some people may not care about fake followers. I really care. I go through every single person who follows me and I delete it if I think it's fake. I don't chance it. So that was something that I really wanted to talk about feeling like you just can't do all of this. And you don't have to do all this. You can keep it smaller, and it's okay to keep it smaller. You just want to keep it quality. And I know I'm sort of rambling, but Tom talked about consistency, and I want to make sure that I help define consistency, because I think I didn't wrap my brain around it until recently. Consistency is not posting something every single day. Consistency is the consistency and the quality of your message. I post on Instagram about once a month, and I get fantastic results. If you look again at my Reels section, I've got 20,000 views, 70,000 views. But I make sure that I put a lot of work into it, and that it's really what I think the viewer, because we said it's not about us, it's about you, that I think I'm giving you something that you really want to know about. I am not throwing up a picture of my dog in between. That is not consistent, So
Jessie, we have a question coming in that I want to just grab your attention for a second. Someone is asking us, and it's a great question. If hashtags can be trademarked,
no,
can that actually happen?
Actually. So, for example, I don't believe they can be trademarked, but I do believe they can be part of a business's campaign. So you're not going to use hashtag Pepsi challenge to promote your product. Pepsi will come, and find you. So you don't want to do that. I have heard of people who had their pages taken down because they used unknowingly that a hashtag was very consciously being used in a campaign by somebody, and they used it to promote their product, and that company complained about them. So again, that's why I'm saying nobody's trademarking hashtag Westchester NY. Stick to those safer ones. And if you're concerned or confused, just go to the hashtag in the search and see who's using it and see if it seems to be clean. If you want, you're more than welcome to DM me, direct message me on Instagram. I'm happy to help you do the research, to figure it out.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
I wanted to make one clarification about long tail versus short tail keywords as an example, and relevancy. So obviously, if you have a keyword like sneakers, that's going to give you a huge amount of volume. Probably your conversion is going to be poor and the competitiveness is going to be very high. But if you have a long tail keyword or something that's unique to you, like say if you have gold Adidas with sparkle laces, like that's such a specific keyword. And if you have that, the volume is low, but the conversion will be amazing. We work with one client where he's a mechanic, and the keyword we have him ranking #1 in the country for is my check engine light is blinking, because that's very specific to a mechanic. And when you get that dreaded check engine light blinking, it's not a joke. You have to figure out, like, is this urgent and I need to take care of it right away? Or is it something that's like a minor problem, but it needs handling? So those kind of keywords that create urgency, create conversion that's very relevant and specific to what you do. It's fantastic.
Eve, you had something to chime in behind that, and then
Yeah, I just love what Jean just said. I love what Jessie just said. I think that Jessie, she said about being specific is exactly what Jean said. And so, for example, we had a company that came to us just recently. They had been doing SEO with a big national company, and they had been trying to optimize the word Hudson Valley wedding, which they are never going to be found for because it is so used all over the place, right? But if they do Poughkeepsie wedding, that's a different story. We can dominate in that SEO, in those words for SEO. So my strategy would be go after the small, low-hanging fruits and really work hard at optimizing for those smaller keywords or long tail keywords, just like Jean said. And same with Jessie when she mentioned about going narrow instead of going broad and then not being able to be found for anything.
Also,
that's the number one tip we're hearing.
5% of people actually use hashtags to try to find somebody that they want to follow. The algorithm, because you've already been using your platforms, you've already been using your YouTubes, you've been using your Instagrams, it's already paid attention to what you want to watch. So it knows what to show you. If you like seeing kittens, it's going to show you kittens. It doesn't matter how many hashtags you use to try to get that kitten person. It's not going to happen. So, that's why I'm saying, like, don't worry too much about your hashtags, but being specific. But that's not where you have, if you think about it for more than 5 minutes, don't worry about it then. Just don't use the big ones.
I think to that end, to what Eve was just talking about, what Jessie was just talking about, I think to that end, a lot of people are probably wondering, like, well, how do I know? Like, in what direction should I be specific? How do I know what to focus on, right? And the answer to that question is actually really simple, is it should be driven by you being authentically who you are, right? Authentically representing your brand and your business, right? So if you know your brand values, if you know what you stand for, if you know what's important to you in your business and your brand, that's where you focus, right? Because you want to attract people, and you're going to attract people to your community who are aligned with you on those values. And those people you will be able to forge relationships with and develop long-lasting, meaningful customer-client relationships with, right? So be authentic, be relentlessly authentic to who you are and what you represent.
Thank you so much for saying that, Tom. Like, that point needed to come out here. So it's not just about doing what everyone else is doing. It's not about trying to be all the things to all the people. It's going deep on what you're knowledgeable or known for. It's being true to yourself and your values. Mike, I would actually love to give you the floor for a minute, because I know authenticity is so important to you. And, in the world that you and I live in, the public relations side of this equation, you see a lot of people getting out there in the community and doing things, community give backs, and it can be a way to sort of, get attention. But where do you draw that line, and how do you make that work for you in the correct way, Mike?
That's a great question. Part of the issue is who you are as a person. So some of you that follow me know I wear sunglasses. I'm not wearing them today. I do have plenty of them to put on, but that's sort of my little shtick, is to wear sunglasses on social media when I'm with at events and whatnot. So, but that works for me. That may not work for everyone else. And Tom's point is well taken. You have to be authentic to who you are and who you represent. And one of the things I always tell people, whether they're a client, a friend, or whatever, it's really important to show what you're doing for the community. All your other stuff is critical. What's your, your value proposition, all that stuff. But especially during the pandemic, it was really important to showcase how you're helping the community, because we can't change the world, but we can change our world. So it's vital to show how you're giving back as part of all the stuff that you do. And it's funny because we do it every day. We do stuff. We go to the local pizza shop. You go and drop food off at the food bank. All those things are social mediable, marketable, and in some cases PRable, if that's a word. Is that a word, Filomena? PRable? I don't know.
I don't think technically, but I'm going to go with it because it sounds darn good.
And that allows you, then that opens a whole wide world of opportunity for you as a business, as a marketer, and helps showcase what your authenticity is. And people want that. They don't want a bunch of crap anymore. You can see through it. It's so much vomit and garbage that's on social or in marketing. The days of Crazy Eddie, for those enough are old to remember, like, hey, that's just, no, it's none of that, unless you're going to a cannabis store, that's different. But I would say that the authenticity thing is really one of the most important things that we sometimes forget, but need to make as part of what we do.
So I'm
Gina,
gonna
we'll pick up with you for one
yeah,
more
I'm gonna
comment before we
I'm gonna
close.
agree. Being authentic is super important because one thing about the internet is once it gets out there, it lives forever. And so if you're fake and you're discovered, you've damaged yourself forever. Having said that, research matters. Your way of thinking about how an industry is or how people are consuming things may be framed by your experience. So at Dr. J's, when we first launched footwear, we were so excited about it. And we brought in a footwear buyer and we launched our department footwear and crickets. Why? Because no one searches footwear. What they search is sneakers, heels, ballet flats, espadrilles, etc. And so, we talked about fishing where the fishes are or meeting your customers where they are. Well, the insight of an industry specialist knowing that footwear is how we aggregate the content, the category to simplify our lives is not the same way the consumer thinks about it. So research matters, and that's revealed because, like I told you, there's 9 billion searches a day. And that's a stochastic process of what keywords people are using in volume. And that's actually searchable, and that should inform how you communicate, not in a fake way, but in a way that engages and increases relevance.
This has been the fastest moving hour ever. I actually need to sort of close us out and get Dr. Marsha Gordon back in the room because we're running fast out of time. But I want to thank each of our panelists for being here today. Please go follow them on social media. Continue to get more tips from them. And remember that sharing your story in all of the ways, using PR, marketing, social media, meeting your customers where they are in their journey, making it about them, not you, bringing your authentic brand to the forefront, doing your homework and your research so that less is actually more and you're saying the right thing to the right people in the right way at the right time is everything. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Marsha Gordon to close out today's seminar.
And Filomena, I have to say, you not only led this so well, and kept everyone moving along so beautifully as the moderator and as the expert, but you summarized it so well. So all the notes I've been taking, and I've been taking a lot since this program started, you've done it all. So Filomena Fanelli, thank you so much for your great leadership and everything you do at Impact PR. And I really, really want to thank and acknowledge our other speakers, Tom Langan from, I'm sorry, looking at Tom Langan, Jessie Spellman Mignone, Mike Giordano, Eve Ashworth, Jean Charles, Donville Collins. Thank you so much. Did I say everybody? I hope I did. Thank you, because you make Westchester County and the Hudson Valley and our region, you're not only branding your company, most importantly, your clients' companies, but you are branding Westchester County and the Hudson Valley as the place to do business. And that's what the Business Council of Westchester and all of us doing our own parts is all about. So we thank you so much. We especially thank Tompkins Community Bank, Matt and Dave and everybody there, the great team there. And you are all absolutely fantastic professionals. How fortunate we all are in the business community here in Westchester to have professionals like you to help our businesses get their word out. So thank you. We wish everyone a great day for business. Enjoy.